His whistle echoed through the arena as cameras flashed, capturing something extraordinary. A future king, sleeves rolled up and sweat on his brow, wasn't sitting in a royal box watching from above. Instead, he was down on the court, breathing hard, competing alongside young athletes who had grown up idolizing both the sport and the monarchy. This wasn't a ceremonial appearance or a carefully staged photo opportunity. This was Prince William proving that royal blood doesn't make you immune to the burn in your lungs when you're giving everything you've got. The morning air was crisp as Prince William's convoy approached the Copperbox Arena in Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. The venue, which had hosted handball and goalball during the 2012 London Olympics, now served as a community sports center where dreams were nurtured and potential was unleashed daily. Today would be different from the usual royal visits filled with ribbon cuttings and polite applause. Security teams had swept the building twice, but the atmosphere inside remained electric with anticipation. Young athletes from across London had gathered, representing dozens of sports clubs and community organizations. They weren't there just to meet royalty. They were there to compete, to show what they could do, and perhaps to witness something they'd never forget. The Prince's advance team had been very specific about the day's agenda. This wouldn't be a tour where William would observe from a safe distance, nodding approvingly at demonstrations. The royal household had made it clear that the prince wanted to participate actively, to engage with the sports programs that were making real differences in young people's lives. Sarah Mitchell, the arena's community outreach coordinator, had been planning this visit for months. She remembered the phone call from Kensington Palace that had changed everything. His Royal Highness wants to participate in the activities, the aide had explained. He's particularly interested in the football and basketball programs, and he'd like to join in rather than simply observe. The request had sent Sarah into overdrive. How do you plan activities for a future king? What if he gets injured? What about security protocols? The questions had multiplied, but so had the excitement. The young people who used the Copperbox Arena would get to see their future monarch not as a distant figure waving from a car, but as someone willing to get his hands dirty and his heart pumping. Marcus Thompson, a 15-year-old from East London, had been coming to the arena's basketball program for 3 years. He'd grown up in a council estate where opportunities were scarce, but the Copperbox Arena had become his sanctuary. The coaches here saw potential in kids like Marcus, kids who might otherwise have fallen through the cracks. My mom couldn't believe it when they told us Prince William was coming. Marcus had told his teammates the night before. She said I better not embarrass the family. But Marcus wasn't thinking about embarrassment. He was thinking about the chance to show what he'd learned, what the arena's programs had given him. The basketball courts had been prepared meticulously. Fresh lines had been painted, nets checked, and replaced where needed. The lighting was perfect, casting no shadows that might interfere with play or photography. But beneath all the preparation lay a deeper truth. This arena had witnessed countless moments of triumph and heartbreak, of young people discovering what they were capable of when given the chance. Amelia Rodriguez, 16, had discovered her love for football at the Copperbox Arena. Coming from a family that had struggled financially, the free programs here had been a lifeline. She developed skills that had caught the attention of talent scouts, and she was now in the youth academy of a professional women's team. Today, she'd be part of the football demonstration that Prince William would join. He's supposed to be really good at football, Amelia had confided to her coach. I heard he played at university and still plays in charity matches. I wonder if he'll really try or if he'll just go easy because there are cameras everywhere. The question of authenticity hung in the air as preparations continued. Would this be another carefully choreographed royal appearance? Or would Prince William truly engage with the competitive spirit that drove these young athletes every day? The arena's main hall buzzed with controlled chaos as final preparations were made. Coaches reviewed their plans, ensuring that safety was paramount while still allowing for genuine competition. The young athletes stretched and warmed up, their nervous energy palpable. This wasn't just about meeting royalty. It was about representing their communities, their coaches, and themselves. Jamie Welsh, the arena's head football coach, had played semi-professionally for years before dedicating himself to youth development. The prince's security detail had worked closely with arena staff to ensure that the activities could proceed safely while maintaining the authentic atmosphere that made the Copper Box Arena special. Special protocols were in place, but they were designed to be invisible to the young participants. This was their day, their chance to shine. Lisa Chun, a 14-year-old gymnast, had been attending the arena's programs since she was 8. Her parents had immigrated from China with little money, but big dreams for their daughter. The Copper Box Arena's gymnastics program had given Lisa world-class coaching and equipment that her family could never have afforded privately. "I want to show him that we're serious athletes here," Lisa had told her teammates. "This isn't just a hobby for us. This is our future." The broader context of Prince William's visit extended far beyond a single day's activities. The prince had been a long-time advocate for youth development through sports, understanding how athletic programs could provide structure, mentorship, and opportunity for young people from all backgrounds. His patronage of various sporting organizations reflected a genuine belief in sports' power to transform lives. The Copper Box Arena represented exactly the kind of community-centered approach to sports development that Prince William championed. Built as part of the London Olympics legacy, it had successfully transitioned from hosting elite international competition to nurturing grassroots talent. The arena offered programs in dozens of sports, from traditional offerings like football and basketball to more specialized activities like goalball and wheelchair basketball. Community leaders had worked tirelessly to ensure that the arena's programs reached young people who needed them most. Transportation was provided for those who couldn't afford it. Equipment was loaned freely. Scholarships covered program fees for families facing financial hardship. The result was a diverse, vibrant community of young athletes who might never have had the chance to discover their potential otherwise. The morning light streamed through the arena skylights as final sound checks were completed. Television crews tested their equipment, while photographers found the best angles. But the real energy came from the young athletes themselves, their excitement building as the arrival time approached. Prince William had specifically requested that the day's activities be competitive rather than ceremonial. He wanted to experience what these young people experienced every day: the challenge of sport, the push to improve, the satisfaction of earned achievement. The request had impressed everyone involved in the planning process. Dr. Michael Roberts, a sports psychologist who worked with several of the arena's programs, had been invited to observe the day's events. He was particularly interested in seeing how the presence of such a high-profile figure would affect the young athletes' performance. Would they rise to the occasion or be overwhelmed by the attention? "These kids have worked incredibly hard to get where they are," Dr. Roberts had noted during the planning sessions. "Many of them have overcome significant obstacles just to be here. They deserve to be seen as the serious athletes they are, not just as props for a royal visit." The commitment to authenticity extended to every detail of the day's planning. The activities would be real training sessions and genuine competitions, not simplified demonstrations. The young athletes would be encouraged to play at their normal intensity. Prince William would be expected to keep up. As the convoy's arrival time approached, the arena fell into a focused calm. The young athletes had completed their warm-ups and were mentally preparing for what lay ahead. Coaches made final adjustments to their plans. Staff members took their positions. The transformation of the Copper Box Arena from Olympic venue to community center had been remarkable, but today would test whether its greatest promise could be fulfilled: the promise that every young person, regardless of background, could find their place in sport and discover what they were truly capable of achieving. The sound of engines outside announced that the moment had arrived. Prince William was about to discover that the future of British sport wasn't found in boardrooms or royal boxes, but in community centers like this one, where young people gathered every day to push themselves, support each other, and chase their dreams with relentless determination. The doors would open soon, and a future king would step into a world where titles meant nothing and effort meant everything. The heavy doors of the Copper Box Arena swung open at precisely 10:30 in the morning, and Prince William stepped inside with a smile that immediately put everyone at ease. Gone was the formal demeanor often associated with royal appearances. Instead, the prince moved with the confident stride of someone genuinely excited about what lay ahead. He wore a simple navy tracksuit with white trainers, practical clothing that signaled his serious intent to participate. The young athletes who had been nervously waiting broke into spontaneous applause, not the polite clapping of a formal ceremony, but the enthusiastic response of people recognizing someone who had come to play, not just to observe. Right then, Prince William said, addressing the gathered crowd with the casual warmth that had endeared him to millions. I hope you're all ready to show an old footballer a thing or two. I should warn you, though, I don't plan on going easy on you just because there are cameras around. The ice was broken immediately. Nervous laughter rippled through the group of young athletes, followed by a buzz of excited conversation. This wasn't what they had expected from a royal visit. This felt like the arrival of a teammate rather than a dignitary. Marcus Thompson stepped forward as one of the designated representatives to welcome the prince. His hands were slightly shaky, but his voice was clear and strong. Your Royal Highness, welcome to the Copper Box Arena. We're honored to have you here, and we're excited to show you what our community can do. Prince William shook Marcus's hand firmly, maintaining eye contact in a way that made the teenager feel seen and valued. Marcus, isn't it? I've heard you're quite the basketball player. I'm looking forward to seeing your skills in action. Fair warning, though, I might need some tips. My jump shot has been a bit off lately. The admission of weakness, delivered with humor and humility, transformed the atmosphere completely. These young athletes were accustomed to being talked down to having their achievements minimized by adults who didn't understand their dedication. Here was the future King of England asking them for help with his game. Sarah Mitchell, the community outreach coordinator, began the formal tour, but it quickly became clear that Prince William was less interested in speeches and presentations than in getting straight to the activities. Could we perhaps start with some actual sport? He asked with a grin. I've been looking forward to this all week. The first activity was football, held on the arena's pristine indoor pitch. 12 young players from various community programs have been selected to participate in a series of drills and a short-sighted match. They represented the diversity of London itself. Different backgrounds, ethnicities, and economic circumstances united by their love of the beautiful game. Amelia Rodriguez had been chosen to captain one of the teams, a recognition of both her skill and her leadership qualities. As Prince William joined the warm-up, she found herself studying his technique. His first touches were confident, his passing accurate, and his movement intelligent. This wasn't a ceremonial participant. This was someone who genuinely understood the game. Form 2 lines, called out Jamie Welsh, the head football coach. We'll start with some passing drills, then move into small-sided games. Your Royal Highness, please join whichever line you'd like. Prince William didn't hesitate, stepping in a line with the young players as if he'd been training with them for years. The drill was simple but revealing. Receive a pass, take a touch, then play the ball to the opposite line. It required technique, composure, and awareness, qualities that couldn't be faked or rehearsed. When Prince William's turn came, he received the ball cleanly, took a perfect first touch to set himself up, and delivered a crisp pass that landed exactly where his teammate expected it. The young players exchanged glances. This was the real deal. Nice touch, called out Jamal Okafor, a 17-year-old striker who had been scouted by several professional academies. The compliment was genuine, athlete to athlete, with no deference to royal status. Years of practice, Prince William replied with a laugh. Though I have to admit, you lot are making me nervous. I can tell I'm going to have to up my game. As the drills progressed, something remarkable began to happen. The initial nervousness that had marked the young players' movements began to fade, replaced by the focused intensity they brought to every training session. They weren't playing for cameras or performing for royal approval. They were doing what they loved most, sharing their passion with someone who clearly understood and respected it. The competitive spirit that defined these young athletes began to emerge. During a possession drill, 16-year-old Kai Patel nutmegged the prince with a clever piece of skill, drawing cheers from his teammates. Prince William's response was perfect. He laughed appreciatively and immediately demanded to know how the move was done. "That was brilliant," he said to Kai. "Can you teach me that? I could definitely use that in charity matches." The moment crystallized everything that made this visit special. Instead of the usual dynamic where young people performed for adult approval, here was mutual respect and genuine exchange. Prince William wasn't just participating. He was learning, acknowledging that these young athletes had skills and knowledge that even royalty could benefit from. Dr. Michael Roberts, observing from the sidelines, made notes about the transformation he was witnessing. The young people weren't being diminished by the presence of such a high-profile figure. They were being elevated by his obvious respect for their abilities and dedication. The small-sided match that followed was competitive in every sense of the word. Prince William found himself marked closely by players who showed no intention of giving him special treatment. When he lost the ball to a perfectly timed tackle from Amelia Rodriguez, he immediately gave her a thumbs up and sprinted back to defend. "That was perfectly timed," he said as they jogged back upfield together. "How long have you been playing?" "Since I was 7," Amelia replied, her initial nervousness completely gone. "I train here 4 times a week and play for my school team as well." "It shows," Prince William said. "That tackle was textbook perfect." The conversation continued as the game flowed around them, touching on Amelia's ambitions, her training routine, and the support she'd received from the arena's programs. It was the kind of exchange that happened between teammates, natural and unforced, focused on the shared language of sport. When Prince William scored a goal from a well-worked team move, his celebration was genuine but respectful. He raised his arms briefly, then immediately went to acknowledge the player who had provided the assist. The balance was perfect, competitive enough to matter, respectful enough to maintain the collaborative spirit that defined the day. The basketball session that followed showcased a different side of the arena's programs. The court had been set up for 3-on-3 games, a format that emphasized skill, quick thinking, and teamwork. Prince William admitted immediately that basketball wasn't his strongest sport, but he was eager to learn. Marcus Thompson took on an unofficial coaching role, explaining the basics of the pick and roll play that his team used frequently. "The key is timing," he explained as they walked through the movement slowly. "You have to trust your teammate to be where they're supposed to be." Prince William proved to be a quick study, but more importantly, he proved to be an attentive listener. He asked questions, requested demonstrations, and showed genuine interest in understanding not just the mechanics of the plays, but the thinking behind them. When the games began, it became clear that the young basketball players had no intention of taking it easy on their royal teammate. They played with the same intensity they brought to every session, forcing Prince William to raise his game to keep up. His competitive spirit emerged clearly as he dove for loose balls and fought for rebounds. "I can see why you love this," he said to Marcus during a brief break between games. "The speed of decision-making is incredible. You have to think 3 moves ahead." "That's exactly right," Marcus replied, his respect for the prince's insight evident. "Coach always tells us that basketball is chess at full speed." The exchange encapsulated the success of the entire visit. These weren't stilted conversations between authority figures and young people. These were the natural interactions between people who shared a love of sport and competition. Lisa Chen's gymnastics demonstration provided a different kind of showcase. The apparatus had been set up in the arena's main hall, and a small group of gymnasts were prepared to show their routines. Prince William watched with obvious admiration as Lisa performed a floor routine that combined power, grace, and precision. "That's absolutely incredible," he said when she finished. "How many hours a week do you train?" "About 20, Lisa replied, still catching her breath. "I love it, though. When I'm training, everything else just disappears." Prince William nodded with understanding. "I can relate to that. Sport has a way of focusing your mind completely, doesn't it? All the external noise just fades away." The conversation that followed revealed Prince William's deep appreciation for the dedication required to excel in sport. He asked thoughtful questions about training routines, goal setting, and the mental challenges that came with competition. His questions weren't superficial or formulaic. They reflected genuine curiosity about the athletic experience. As the morning progressed, the artificial barriers that might have existed between royalty and community athletes had completely dissolved. Prince William wasn't holding back in competition. The young athletes weren't intimidated by his presence, and everyone was simply focused on the joy of sport and the satisfaction of shared effort. The photography and video crews captured remarkable images. The future king sprawled on the floor after diving for a basketball, sweat on his brow as he tracked back in defense during football, laughing with genuine delight as a young athlete taught him a new skill. These weren't posed shots or manufactured moments. They were authentic captures of real engagement. By lunchtime, the initial goals of the visit had been exceeded dramatically. What had been planned as a demonstration of the arena's programs had evolved into something much more meaningful, a genuine celebration of sport's power to bring people together across any divide. The lunch break provided an opportunity for more intimate conversations, but Prince William had no interest in retreating to a private room for formal dining. Instead, he joined the young athletes in the arena's community cafe, sitting at the same tables where they gathered every day after training sessions. The cafe buzzed with animated discussion about the morning's activities. The artificial barriers that often existed between different sports and age groups have been broken down by the shared experience of competing alongside royalty. Basketball players were asking football players about their techniques, gymnasts were discussing training methods with swimmers, and everyone was contributing to conversations about sport, competition, and dreams. "The thing I love most about this place," said 18-year-old David Okoye, a wrestler who had recently won a national championship in his weight class, "is that everyone supports everyone else. It doesn't matter what sport you do or where you come from. We're all trying to get better." Prince William, sitting nearby with a simple sandwich and a cup of tea, nodded in agreement. That's what sports should be about, isn't it? The shared pursuit of excellence, regardless of background. You can see it here. There's a real sense of community. The observation sparked a deeper conversation about the role of sport in bringing people together. Sofia Petrova, a 15-year-old tennis player whose family had immigrated from Bulgaria, spoke about how the arena's programs had helped her integrate into British society while maintaining connections to her cultural heritage. "When I first came here, my English wasn't very good," Sophia explained. "But on the tennis court, you don't need many words. You just need to play." The other kids accepted me because they could see I was serious about getting better, just like them. Prince William listened intently, asking follow-up questions that demonstrated genuine interest in understanding the immigrant experience. His questions weren't politically motivated or designed to elicit specific responses. They reflected curiosity about how sport had served as a bridge between cultures. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of several Paralympic athletes who trained at the arena. Tom Bradley, a wheelchair basketball player who had represented Great Britain at 2 Paralympic Games, had heard about the prince's visit and stopped by during his lunch break from work. "I hope you don't mind the interruption," Tom said, wheeling up to the table. "I wanted to thank you for the support you've shown for Paralympic sport over the years." Prince William's face lit up with recognition. "Tom Bradley, I watched you play in Tokyo. That final was absolutely incredible. The skill level in wheelchair basketball is just phenomenal." The ensuing conversation revealed Prince William's detailed knowledge of Paralympic sport and his genuine admiration for Paralympic athletes. He asked technical questions about wheelchair basketball strategies, discussed the challenge of balancing training with work commitments, and showed real understanding of the unique aspects of Paralympic competition. "The thing people don't always realize," Tom explained, "is that Paralympic sport isn't inspirational because we're overcoming disability. It's inspirational because we're athletes pushing ourselves to be the best we can be, just like any other athlete." "Absolutely." Prince William agreed immediately. "The level of skill, dedication, and competition is extraordinary. It's elite sport, period." The conversation drew other athletes into the discussion, including several young people with disabilities who participated in the arena's adaptive sports programs. The natural ease with which everyone interacted reflected the inclusive culture that the Copperbox Arena had worked hard to create. 15-year-old Emma Walsh, who had been born with one arm and had found her passion in adaptive swimming, spoke about her goals for the next Paralympic Games. "I want to show other young people with disabilities that there's no limit to what you can achieve if you're willing to work for it," she said. Prince William's response was thoughtful and encouraging without being patronizing. "Your training times are impressive. What's your target for the next major competition?" The technical discussion that followed could have taken place between any coach and athlete. Prince William asked about training methods, competition preparation, and goal setting with the kind of detailed interest that showed he understood elite athletic development. As the afternoon activities began, the focus shifted to some of the arena's more specialized programs. The goalball court had been set up for a demonstration of the Paralympic sport that required players to use only their hearing to locate a ball with bells inside. Prince William was invited to try the sport, which meant wearing a blindfold and relying entirely on sound and spatial awareness. "This is going to be humbling," Prince William admitted as he put on the eye shade. "I have tremendous respect for anyone who can play this sport well." The first few attempts were exactly as challenging as expected. Prince William struggled to track the ball's movement and coordinate his defensive positioning. But rather than becoming frustrated, he approached the challenge with the same competitive spirit he had shown all day. "Tell me what I'm doing wrong," he asked the young goalball players. "I can't hear the ball, but I'm always a step behind where it actually goes." The coaching that followed was patient and detailed, with young athletes explaining the nuances of sport that Prince William was experiencing for the first time. Their expertise was evident, and their willingness to share knowledge demonstrated the confidence that the day's activities had built. When Prince William finally made his first successful defensive play, stopping a ball that would have scored, his celebration was genuine but respectful. "That felt amazing," he said. "The level of concentration required is incredible. You have to trust your hearing completely." The exchange highlighted one of the day's recurring themes: mutual respect and genuine learning. Prince William wasn't pretending to understand these sports. He was actually taking the time to learn them properly, acknowledging the expertise of young athletes who had dedicated years to mastering their disciplines. The badminton courts provided the next challenge. Several young players from the arena's badminton program had prepared a series of drills and games, including mixed doubles matches that would test Prince William's court coverage and reaction speed. Paired with 16-year-old Priya Sharma, who had recently won the London Youth Championships, Prince William found himself in competitive matches against other young athletes. The pace was fast, the rallies were intense, and nobody was holding back. "Communication is key in doubles," Priya explained between points. "You have to trust your partner and make quick decisions about who takes which shots." The tactical discussion continued as they played, with Priya offering coaching advice that Prince William absorbed and implemented immediately. His improvement over the course of several games was noticeable, demonstrating both his athletic ability and his coachability. "You're picking this up quickly," Priya noted after they won a particularly challenging rally. "Have you played much doubles before?" "Some," Prince William replied, "but not at this level. You're having to cover for my positioning mistakes constantly. Thank you for being patient with a learning partner." The gracious acknowledgement of his teammates' superior skill and his gratitude for her coaching encapsulated the respectful approach he had maintained throughout the day. He was competing seriously, but never losing sight of the fact that he was learning from young people whose expertise exceeded his own. The swimming pool activities showcased another dimension of the arena's programs. Several young swimmers demonstrated their training routines, including both able-bodied and adaptive swimmers. Prince William watched the technical demonstrations with obvious interest, asking detailed questions about stroke mechanics and training methods. When invited to join a relay team for a fun race, Prince William didn't hesitate. He changed into swimming gear and took his position as the third leg of a four-person relay. The race was competitive but lighthearted, with swimmers from different age groups and ability levels working together toward a common goal. Prince William's stroke was efficient rather than flashy, demonstrating technique that suggested regular swimming rather than just occasional recreation. When he touched the wall and his teammate dove in for the final leg, he cheered enthusiastically, fully invested in the team's performance. "That was fantastic," he said afterward, still catching his breath. The technique level here is really impressive. These young swimmers are serious athletes. The comment was directed to the pool's head coach, but it was said loudly enough for all the young swimmers to hear. The recognition of their dedication and skill was clearly appreciated, reinforcing the respect that had characterized all of the day's interactions. As the afternoon progressed toward its conclusion, the atmosphere in the arena had evolved from nervous excitement to comfortable camaraderie. Prince William had successfully bridged the gap between royal visitor and fellow athlete, earning genuine respect through his willingness to compete, learn, and acknowledge the expertise of others. The young athletes had risen to the occasion magnificently, displaying not only their athletic skills, but also their ability to welcome, teach, and compete with grace and confidence. They had shown that respect could be earned through effort and authenticity rather than demanded through authority. The success of the day was evident in the natural conversations happening throughout the arena. Groups of young athletes were discussing techniques, sharing training tips, and making plans to try each other's sports. Prince William moved easily between these conversations, contributing insights, asking questions, and learning from everyone around him. The transformation that had taken place over the course of the day was remarkable, but not surprising to those who understood the power of sport to break down barriers and build connections. In the Copper Box Arena, artificial divisions had given way to shared purpose, formal protocol had yielded to genuine engagement, and mutual respect had emerged through the common language of athletic effort and competitive spirit. As the day's formal activities wound down, Prince William made an unexpected request that would transform what was supposed to be a ceremonial conclusion into something far more meaningful. Instead of the traditional group photograph and farewell speech, he asked if he could spend individual time with some of the young athletes to hear about their personal journeys and aspirations. "I'd really like to understand more about how sport has impacted your lives," he explained to the arena staff. "These young people have incredible stories, and I have a feeling there's much more depth here than what we've seen today." Sarah Mitchell, the community outreach coordinator, was surprised but delighted by the request. She quickly arranged for small group conversations in various areas of the arena, allowing Prince William to connect more personally with the young athletes who had made the day so special. The first conversation took place on the basketball court with Marcus Thompson and 3 of his teammates. They sat in a circle at center court, the formal barriers of royal protocol completely abandoned in favor of genuine dialogue. "Marcus, you mentioned earlier that you train here 4 times a week," Prince William began. "How did you first get involved with basketball?" Marcus's story unfolded gradually, revealing layers of challenge and determination that painted a picture of sport's transformative power. He had grown up in a single-parent household in East London, where his mother worked 2 jobs to support the family. The local youth center had limited programs, and trouble was easy to find on the streets. "I was angry a lot when I was younger," Marcus admitted. "My dad left when I was 8, and I didn't really understand how to deal with that. I got into fights at school, my grades were bad, and my mom was really worried about me." The discovery of the Copper Box Arena's free basketball program had changed everything. The combination of physical outlet, structured coaching, and positive role models had redirected Marcus's energy toward constructive goals. More importantly, the program had given him a sense of belonging and purpose. "The coaches here don't just teach you basketball," Marcus explained. "They teach you about life, about showing up on time, keeping commitments, supporting your teammates, about how to handle failure and success. Those lessons apply everywhere." Prince William listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that demonstrated genuine engagement with Marcus's story. He wanted to understand not just what had happened, but how the transformation had taken place and what role sport had played in the process. The conversation revealed that Marcus was now one of the top players in London's youth leagues and had received scholarship offers from several universities in the United States. But more importantly, he had become a mentor to younger players in the program, passing on the lessons that had changed his own life. "I want to study sports psychology," Marcus shared, discussing his university plans. "I want to understand better how sport can help young people who are struggling like I was. Maybe I can create programs that reach even more kids who need this kind of opportunity." Prince William's response was encouraging but not patronizing. He asked specific questions about Marcus's university applications, his academic preparation, and his long-term career goals. The conversation felt like one between a mentor and a promising young person, not between royalty and subject. The next conversation took place in the gymnastics area with Lisa Chun and several other young gymnasts. Lisa's story revealed different challenges, but similar themes of perseverance and transformation through sport. "My parents came here with almost nothing," Lisa explained. "They worked incredibly hard so I could have opportunities they never had. But they didn't know anything about gymnastics or how expensive it could be." The Copper Box Arena Scholarship Program had made Lisa's training possible, but the real value had come through the discipline and confidence that gymnastics had instilled. Lisa spoke about learning to set goals, handle pressure, and bounce back from setbacks, skills that had improved her academic performance as well as her athletic ability. "Gymnastics teaches you that you can do things that seem impossible if you break them down into smaller parts and practice each piece until you get it right," Lisa said. "I use that approach for everything now, including my studies." Prince William was particularly interested in how Lisa balanced her training commitments with academic requirements. Her schedule was demanding, requiring careful time management and unwavering dedication, but the structure actually helped her excel in both areas. The conversation touched on the cultural challenges that Lisa's family had faced as immigrants and how sport had served as a bridge between their Chinese heritage and British society. Lisa's achievements in gymnastics had brought recognition not just to herself, but to her entire family, validating their sacrifice and demonstrating the opportunities that existed in their adopted country. "I want to represent Great Britain in an international competition," Lisa shared, discussing her competitive goals. "Not just for myself, but to show other young immigrants that they can achieve anything here if they're willing to work for it." Prince William's engagement with these personal stories was remarkable in its depth and authenticity. He wasn't conducting superficial interviews or fishing for sound bites. He was genuinely interested in understanding how sport had shaped these young people's lives and what their experiences revealed about broader social issues. The conversation with Amelia Rodriguez and her football teammates took place on the indoor pitch where they had competed earlier in the day. Amelia's story highlighted the particular challenges faced by young women in sport, especially those from working-class backgrounds. "Football wasn't really seen as something for girls when I started playing," Amelia explained. "There weren't many opportunities, and people didn't take it seriously. Even some teachers at school thought I was wasting my time." The transformation of women's football over the past several years had created new opportunities, but Amelia's path had still required exceptional determination. The Copper Box Arenas program had been crucial in her development, providing coaching and competition that matched her ambitions. "The coaches here never treated us like we were playing a second-rate version of football," Amelia said. "They expected the same commitment, the same tactical understanding, the same level of fitness as any boys' team. That's why several of us have been able to make it to academy level." Prince William's questions revealed his knowledge of the recent growth in women's football and his understanding of the barriers that female athletes still faced. He asked about media coverage, funding challenges, and the role models that inspired young female footballers. The conversation expanded to include broader discussions about equality in sport and the importance of providing equal opportunities regardless of gender. Amelia and her teammates spoke passionately about their belief that sport should be judged on skill and dedication rather than preconceived notions about what was appropriate for young women. "We want to be role models for younger girls," Amelia explained. We want them to see that football is for everyone who loves the game and is willing to work hard. The dialogue with Tom Bradley and several other Paralympic athletes provided yet another perspective on sports' transformative power. Their conversation took place in the arena's main hall, with various adaptive sports equipment visible around them. Tom's story challenged conventional narratives about disability and sport. He hadn't taken up wheelchair basketball as therapy or inspiration. He had been drawn to it because of the high level of competition and the tactical complexity of the game. The best thing about Paralympic sport is that it's judged on performance, not on overcoming circumstances, Tom explained. When I'm on the court, I'm not someone to be admired for participating. I'm an athlete trying to win. The conversation revealed the sophisticated training programs, international competition opportunities, and professional standards that define Paralympic sport. Prince William's questions demonstrated his understanding that these were elite athletes who happened to have disabilities, not disabled people who happen to play sports. The discussion touched on the role of adaptive sports in changing societal perceptions about disability. Tom and his fellow athletes spoke about how their achievements in sport had opened doors in other areas of their lives, from education to employment opportunities. Sport taught me that having a disability doesn't mean accepting limitations, explained Emma Walsh, the young swimmer. It means finding different ways to achieve the same goals. As these individual conversations continued throughout the arena, a broader picture emerged of the Copperbox Arena's impact on the community. The facility wasn't just providing sports programs. It was creating pathways to opportunity, building confidence, and fostering the kind of personal development that extended far beyond athletic achievement. The young athlete stories revealed common themes: the importance of positive role models, the value of structured challenges, the power of belonging to a supportive community, and the way that athletic achievement could open doors to broader opportunities. Their experiences demonstrated sports' unique ability to develop character, build resilience, and create connections across social divides. Prince William's engagement with these stories was clearly making an impact on him as well. His questions became more thoughtful as the conversations progressed, and his understanding of the arena's role in the community deepened with each personal narrative he heard. The informal nature of these conversations had created something special: genuine exchange between people who shared a love of sport and a belief in its power to change lives. The artificial barriers that might have existed between royalty and community athletes had been completely eliminated by the shared recognition that sport created its own form of democracy, where effort and character mattered more than background or status. As the afternoon light began to fade through the arena skylights, it was clear that this had evolved far beyond a typical royal visit. It had become a celebration of community, a recognition of achievement, and a demonstration of sport's unique ability to bring out the best in people from all walks of life. As the day drew toward its close, Prince William made one final request that would create the most memorable moment of an already extraordinary visit. Instead of the traditional formal farewell, he asked if the young athletes would be willing to organize an impromptu tournament that would include everyone who had participated throughout the day. "I'd love to end this with all of us competing together," he explained to the assembled group. "Not as a photo opportunity, but as a real competition where we can all test ourselves against each other." The response was immediate and enthusiastic. Within minutes, the young athletes had organized themselves into mixed teams that represented all the sports that had been featured during the day. The tournament format was simple but inclusive: relay races that would test different athletic abilities, team challenges that required cooperation, and individual skills competitions that showcased specific talents. The arena's coaching staff worked quickly to set up stations throughout the facility. The basketball court became the site of a shooting competition and agility challenges. The football pitch hosted dribbling courses and accuracy tests. The swimming pool featured sprint races and diving competitions. The gymnastics area showcased strength and flexibility challenges. What made the tournament special wasn't the formal structure, but the spirit in which it was conducted. Prince William participated as a full team member, not as a ceremonial figurehead. He was assigned to Team Blue, alongside Marcus Thompson, Sophia Petrova, Emma Walsh, and 3 other young athletes representing different sports. The opening challenge was a basketball relay that required each team member to make a successful shot from progressively more difficult positions. Prince William's first attempt from the free throw line missed badly, drawing good-natured laughter from his teammates and opponents alike. "No pressure," Marcus called out with a grin. "Just pretend like there aren't cameras recording this for posterity." The comment broke any remaining tension, and Prince William's second attempt swished cleanly through the net. His celebration was enthusiastic but brief, quickly shifting focus to encouraging his teammates as they took their turns. The football skills challenge tested dribbling ability and shooting accuracy. Each team member had to navigate a course of cones, then score from different positions around the goal. Amelia Rodriguez, now competing against Prince William rather than alongside him, demonstrated why she had earned a place in a professional academy. Prince William's technique was solid but not spectacular. He completed the course successfully, but without the flair that characterized the younger competitors. His reaction to being outperformed was perfect, genuine appreciation for superior skill combined with good-humored acceptance of his own limitations. "That was absolutely brilliant," he said to Jamal Okafor, who had completed the course with exceptional pace and precision. "How long did it take you to develop that level of ball control?" The conversation that followed, conducted while other competitors took their turns, revealed Prince William's genuine interest in the technical aspects of athletic development. He asked detailed questions about training methods, practice routines, and the mental approach required for elite performance. The swimming challenges showcased the abilities of both able-bodied and adaptive swimmers. Prince William competed in the general category, while Emma Walsh represented her team in the adaptive division. The approach to inclusion was seamless and natural, reflecting the arena's culture of treating all athletes as serious competitors. When Emma Walsh won her race by a significant margin, setting a time that would have been competitive in any category, Prince William was among the loudest in celebrating her achievement. His applause was that of one athlete recognizing exceptional performance by another. "That was an incredible swim," he said to Emma afterward. "Your technique is absolutely flawless. How do you generate so much power through the water?" The technical discussion that followed could have taken place between any coach and athlete. Prince William's questions were informed and specific, demonstrating genuine curiosity about the biomechanics of adaptive swimming. The gymnastics challenges tested flexibility, strength, and coordination across a series of stations. Lisa Chun dominated these events, displaying the kind of technical mastery that came from years of dedicated training. Prince William gamely attempted each challenge, but was clearly outmatched by the specialized skills of the gymnasts. His approach to these challenges encapsulated the attitude that had made the entire day successful. He tried his best, accepted his limitations gracefully, and focused his energy on encouraging and learning from the more skilled athletes around him. "I have tremendous respect for what you do," he said to Lisa after watching her perform a complex floor routine. "The strength and coordination required is just incredible. How many years of training does it take to reach that level?" The conversation revealed Lisa's training history, her goals for international competition, and her plans for balancing athletics with academic pursuits. Prince William's questions demonstrated genuine interest in understanding the commitment required for elite gymnastics. As the tournament progressed, the competitive spirit intensified without losing the collaborative atmosphere that had characterized the entire day. Teams cheered for each other's successes, offered encouragement during difficult challenges, and maintained the kind of sportsmanship that reflected the values that sport could instill. The final challenge was a team relay that required each member to complete a different athletic task, swimming a length of the pool, shooting basketball free throws until successful, completing a gymnastic balance routine, dribbling through a football course, and finishing with a sprint around the track. Prince William was assigned the football portion, which played to his strengths while still requiring him to perform under pressure with his teammates, depending on his success. The responsibility was real, the stakes felt genuine, and the crowd's attention was focused and intense. When his turn came, Prince William completed the dribbling course cleanly and efficiently. Not spectacular, but solid enough to keep his team competitive. His handoff to the next team member was celebrated with genuine enthusiasm by teammates who appreciated his contribution to their shared effort. Team Blue didn't win the overall tournament, finishing second by a narrow margin, but Prince William's reaction to the result was telling. He congratulated the winners enthusiastically, thanked his teammates for their patience with his limitations, and expressed genuine satisfaction with the team's effort. "That was absolutely fantastic," he said to the assembled groups as the tournament concluded. "I can't remember the last time I've enjoyed competing this much. You've all shown incredible skill, sportsmanship, and generosity in including me in your activities." The speech that followed was unlike any typical royal address. Instead of formal platitudes about sport and community, Prince William spoke personally about what he had experienced and learned throughout the day. "When I arrived this morning, I expected to observe and participate in some demonstrations," he began. "What I discovered instead was a community of serious athletes who welcomed me not as a visitor, but as a fellow competitor. You challenged me, taught me, and included me in something genuinely special." He spoke specifically about individual athletes and their achievements, demonstrating that he had been genuinely engaged throughout the day rather than simply going through the motions of a royal appearance. His comments about Marcus's leadership, Lisa's technical excellence, Amelia's determination, and Emma's inspiring performances were detailed and personal. "The skill level I've witnessed today is extraordinary, but what's even more impressive is the character you've all demonstrated," Prince William continued. "The way you've supported each other, welcomed someone new into your community, and maintained competitive intensity while showing perfect sportsmanship. These are the qualities that make sport truly valuable." The response from the young athletes was warm and genuine. They had earned Prince William's respect through their athletic abilities and character, and his recognition of their achievements felt authentic rather than obligatory. The impact of the day extended far beyond the immediate participants. The arena staff had witnessed something remarkable, a demonstration that genuine engagement could break down any barrier, that sport could create instant community, and that respect could be earned through effort and authenticity rather than status or authority. Dr. Michael Roberts, who had observed the entire day, was struck by the transformation that had taken place in both the young athletes and the royal visitor. "What we've seen today is sport at its absolute best," he reflected. "Real competition, genuine respect, authentic learning, and the kind of character development that extends far beyond athletics." As the formal activities concluded, Prince William made no move toward a quick departure. Instead, he continued circulating among the young athletes, engaging in conversations that were clearly driven by genuine interest rather than obligation. The photographs and videos captured throughout the day would tell an important story about sport's power to bring people together, but the real impact was visible in the faces and interactions of everyone involved. The young athletes had experienced what it meant to be treated as serious competitors by someone who understood and valued their dedication. Prince William had experienced the kind of authentic competition and community that reminded him why sport mattered in the first place. As the prince finally prepared to leave, the farewell was unlike any typical royal departure. There were handshakes and thanks, but also exchanges of contact information, promises to follow competitive results, and genuine expressions of hope for future encounters. "Thank you for one of the most enjoyable days I've had in years," Prince William said in his final address to the group. "You've reminded me why sport is so important and why communities like this are so valuable. I hope to see you all competing at the highest levels in the future." The young athlete's response was a spontaneous round of applause that reflected genuine appreciation rather than protocol. They had shared something special with their future monarch, and both sides have been enriched by the experience. As Prince William's convoy pulled away from the Copperbox Arena, the facility remained buzzing with energy and excitement. The young athletes gathered in small groups, reliving the day's highlights, discussing what they had learned, and making plans to maintain the connections that had been forged through shared competition. The day had demonstrated sport's unique power to create genuine community across any divide, to bring out the best in people from all backgrounds, and to prove that authentic respect could only be earned through effort, character, and the willingness to compete with honor and grace.